while since you felt like this. Been a while since you felt like this. Been a while since you felt like this. There must be something wrong.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Day 2 coverage of the ISU 2024 Junior Grand Prix event here in Riga. I'm your host, Ted Barton, along with Mark Hanratty. Lost my voice on day 1 already. Rolled up the sleeves. It's a beautiful day. Cool in the rink. But, Mark, we got the rhythm dance up, and it's going to heat up pretty quick.
Yeah, it should be a really fun event in the junior rhythm dance. And this year, the theme for the rhythm dance is the dance social styles from the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. And I'm sure we're in for a lot of entertainment.
It's going to be a great event indeed. The rhythm dance starts right now. Welcome, everyone, to Day 2 coverage here in Riga, Latvia, as we fly over the Volvo Sports Center. I'm your host, Ted Barton, along with Mark Hanratty, day number 2, and we're going to start with the rhythm dance, so it should be fun, Mark.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the ice dancers, and most of the teams across all disciplines arrive at a similar time, so I'm sure the dancers having to start their campaign one day later are eagerly chomping at the bit, ready to go.
Absolutely. You talked a little bit in the opening about the rhythms that we can expect, or at least the era from the rhythms.
Yeah,
and I know you weren't born during those years. As we take a look at the officials, we thank them for all their time that they commit to this sport, both nationally and internationally as well.
Yes, and it's been an interesting, and it will be an interesting discussion over the season as to the required characteristics for this year's theme. So the theme and music selected for the rhythm dances, both in junior and senior for this season, 2024-2025, are social dances and styles of the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. And interestingly, many in the ice dance community had assumed that following last year's success, as we see the starting order for this event, of the 1980s rhythm dance, that this season it would be the 1990s, and yet upon discussion, I've had some chats with members of the ISU Ice Dance Technical Committee, and they seem very open to discussion with the coaching community and the skaters, and thus that was the rationale behind this choice.
And that is excellent on the ISU's part, when you really sit down and engage with the coaching community. I've seen those. We've actually filmed some of those interviews, or not interviews, but discussions. And it's wonderful that they get the input from the coaches who are doing the work with the skaters, so they hear both sides. So kudos to the ISU and to the coaches for working together to do the best as they move forward.
And I think that I personally think that's really quite brave of the Ice Dance Technical Committee to bring the opinions on of those coaches, because you know, when you open the forum, as we see the Italian team who opened this event, when you open the forum to so many passionate individuals, and let's not forget that the ice dance community can be particularly dramatic and passionate.
I didn't notice that. There's no emotion in dance, is there?
Then you put yourself up for, you know, so many opinions in there. You know, the Ice Dance Technical Committee have to come up with a very clear guidance and guideline. Can't be vague. They've got to give clear criteria for all of the coaches.
And it is a difficult sport. It's the most enjoyable discipline to watch in skating from the perspective of pure joy without knowing the detail. And if you want to know the detail, it gets pretty detailed, right? So I think the community is working together to make sure that they serve two means. One is what are the technical requirements, because it is a sport. And then two, how do we make this continue to make entertaining? And I think they are doing a good job in discussion.
And yesterday, questions that came into us on the ISU social media, and actually indeed on the basics of figure skating that we are covering in some short videos for social media, we were asked to articulate the differences between pairs and ice dance. And it's an interesting one because all of the disciplines are judged in their component scores under the exact same criteria. There's a tiny difference in regards to the unison and oneness between pairs and dancers as opposed to the single skaters, but essentially skating skills are meant to be the same across all. That said, there's no doubt that the dancers do tend to have a greater focus upon the composition and the presentation.
Absolutely. And one would have to say, in all fairness, and this is not accurate for everyone, but basically because ice dance is mostly skating skill built, that their skating skills are maybe at a higher level, at least earlier on in the skater's career.
Yeah, and even that discussion in regards to the skating skills, the style of skating skills required for the ice dancers has evolved and changed, and it's interesting now as we head towards the end of the Olympic cycle and we get further and further away from the compulsory dances and the pattern dances. Each Olympic cycle and each generation further, the style of ice dances though is evolving because there's not quite the same rigidity that they used to be trained in when they had the pattern dances that were so iconic of that discipline.
You love this, don't you?
Yeah, and I suppose I immersed my whole self in it, like so many of these guys are doing now. My life was ice dance, and I was, whoopsies. Nice to see good camaraderie between the teams there, despite the collision.
Despite the collision, that's funny.
My we're consumed by it, and I think I love all the disciplines. I really do. I love synchro too, even though I'm less educated in that. But I think for the ice dancers, as we've discussed, the maturation rate and success across the different disciplines does vary, and the ice dancers do tend to be older. And when we look at the world, and I think then when you're as an adult studying it, then it becomes more of a job, and so you perhaps become a bit more tuned into the rules.
Interesting, even the younger ice dancers are older souls because of the nature of this discipline. Anyways, hey, listen, we want to ask you viewers out around the world to send your questions into where?
Send it in to the International Skating Union Instagram handle, and they've got their story posts. Please feel free to reply to that, and then our wonderful team, who we can see now, we're smiling at them now, but they're engaged busily.
we love getting those questions because they're thought-provoking, number one, they're engaging as well, and they help us fill time when there are technical delays. Here we go, Mark. The rhythm dance starts now.
And we had the Italian woman entrant opening the women's short program yesterday. Roommate to Serena Hughes yesterday in the women's event, Noemi Mariatali, and her partner Noah Lafornara will open the ice dance event, the first rhythm dance to be competed this year on the Junior Grand Prix Series 2024. Noemi Mariatali and Noah Lafornata from Italy start the 2024 Junior Grand Prix Series in the rhythm dance. And they came and chatted with us in the commentary booth yesterday, and what a charming, delightful pair of skaters they are.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to hear the Bee Gees. We're going to hear a lot of Bee Gees. It's great music. It's my era. It's a lot of fun. And I saw as going through the bios, there's a lot of Bee Gees in there. But that was a great start to this rhythm dance.
And one of the importances, the required characteristics for the dancers in the rhythm dance this year is high energy rooted in couple dancing. And these two definitely had high energy. And this team comes in to this year's Junior Grand Prix being able to enjoy some of the age changes, and they're staying in juniors this year. They just had one event last year and they blew us all away in their Junior Grand Prix in Armenia in their first event where they placed third. So I assume that this year they'll have their sights set on perhaps the Junior Grand Prix final. As we look at the first of the Paso Doble sequences here, one of the key points for the man here, the criteria very clear on the key points, 4 key points, as we look at just a little lack of synchronicity here through the sequential twizzles. And this year there are some changes in the twizzles for the ice dancers. They cannot repeat the Group C feature between the rhythm dance and the free dance. As we look now at the step style B, technical panel here, looking at that right forward inside count, a little scratch on the blade on the outgoing edge for Noah there, so that unlikely to be counted. And the outside closed mohawk, a little change in the free leg extension for the team, but this rotation lift was pitched so perfectly with the music, and that will be reflected in the grade of execution for Noemi and Noah. And here with the charismatic Valtarizo. But kudos to the other coaches that they have. And actually, Noah's mum was his coach for the first 10 years of his skating career.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well done. Great start. That's a lot of fun. And I think, well, of course, every year when the new rhythms come out, it's always fun. But by the end of the season, you know, it's a little more challenging. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores. 62.95 for Noemi and Noah. They are the first team out in this event.
And now to me, Marler Davies and Joseph Black. Very new team to the Junior Grand Prix circuit. Both experienced and established performers on stage here now on the Junior Grand Prix stage. Ah, nice pat in the back from Mimi to partner Joseph in their first Junior Grand Prix, and what a very clean, tidy and well-packaged team in their first stages. They're venturing into this new world of international junior competition.
I think the choreography matched exactly where they are in their individual skating development, so that was well designed for this team at this stage.
And we can see obviously that Mimi and Joseph aren't as experienced. There's not the same strength, flow and glide in the skating skills as the Italians who have opened the event. But I think everything that their coaches Alan and Karen would want for their first experience at the Junior Grand Prix, conducting themselves as cleanly as they just have. And you can see both of them have been involved in the Sylvia Young Theatre School. Indeed, Joseph's been performing in the West End as we look at Paso Doble first sequence. And there, the first key point for the women, and the second key point for the man. For Mimi and Joseph, no key points attained. Level 1 on the step sequences, so technically they'll be aware that there'll be work to be done. However, both did achieve a level 4 on the sequential twizzles with a positive grade of execution. And here, just not as deep an edge set as we'll see from some of the other teams, which dictate the level. Although I thought the back counter there was pretty decent for Mimi.
Yeah, I know there's more work to be done here for sure, but at this stage, this is a well-performed rhythm dance as we take a look at the entrance into the straight line lift.
And akin to some of the changes this year in the twizzles, the features chosen for the lift and the rhythm dance have to be different than that in the free dance. I love that.
You look at the smiles and the fun that they're having just with that ending of the performance into the kiss and cry. That's what it's all about, because they're going to want to come back. They're going to want to work hard, close the gap between themselves and other teams that'll be ahead of them. But the pure joy of doing it, that fuels you.
Yeah, and lovely to see that. And Coach Alan here with them, oozing positivity and making sure that this is a really joyful experience for them. And really amazing, really, when I consider how well put together the team are, given how little time that they have to train. Their ice rink in Alexandra Palace was closed for some refurbishment throughout the summer, so when they could have exploited more training time outside of their academics, they weren't able to because of the rink.
There's the score for the rhythm dance, 42.81. Second team out, that puts them currently in second place, but they had a good time and they had a good performance really for the stage of development they're at. Well done.
And now to the third team competing, Eleanor Gabe and Maxime Eveco. Well, for me, Ted, as we see the conclusion of Eleanor Gabe and Maxim Ivakov's rhythm dance, confirmation that uplifting being the criteria is definitely something that we are seeing. Energetic and uplifting, and that was definitely the case for this Swiss ice dance team in their first Junior Grand Prix.
Yeah, loving the music, loving the energy, no question. You can see the difference between the teams in their skating skills and their experiences we see in all the disciplines.
And this team were bronze at the Swiss Junior Championships last season. They were silver at Swiss Novice Championships back in 2022. So they'll be pushing to try to follow in the success of the likes of Gina Zender and Beda Leon Sibert, who were the first Swiss ice dance team to win a Junior Grand Prix medal when they did that last year.
Yeah, that was great.
And this couple chose to do the second sequence of Paso Doble first. You can take the two different sequences in either order, whereby either the man skates the woman steps, and the woman skates the woman steps. As we look now to the twizzles, sequential twizzles, so just up to one step at most between the first and second. You can see a little lack of synchronicity, which will be reflected in the grade of execution. The change of pose, the choice of feature for Eleanor and Maxim in their curve lift. And interestingly, Maxime lives in Switzerland and Eleanor lives in France, and he travels 2.5 hours to reach training 5 days per week. Such is their commitment.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That is something.
Katja Leninger here with them, one of their coaches.
It shows you, Mark, that when you want to make something work, you make it work.
Absolutely.
The obstacles in the way. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores. 44.12 for Eleanor and Maxime, and that will put them currently, for the moment at least, in the second place.
Everybody so far, well, the last two teams in particular seem satisfied with their scores. Yeah, I'm always happy when that happens.
No, absolutely. Even if they're not quite at the same standard, they're at the standard they want to be at this time of the year, at least.
And now to the siblings, Caroline Mullen and Brendan Mullen. I remember being so impressed seeing them in Osaka at the Junior Grand Prix last year. Excited to see them this season, skating to Staying Alive and Night Fever. Caroline Mullen and Brendan Mullen. Really enjoyable rhythm dance.
Yeah, you can clearly see the difference in the skating skills here compared to some of the other teams at this stage of the competition. Lots of energy throughout.
And this
more difficult lift. That lift came up over the shoulders, and the rotational lift really nicely done.
With lots of ice coverage throughout,
Yeah.
pushing the grade of execution. And you can see this team, representing the United States of America, where the depth of talent and number of quality teams is so deep, and so thus getting qualification here in the Junior Grand Prix, a confirmation of their brilliance.
Yeah, it's tough in North America actually with ice dance because there's so many good teams. I mean, not only in North America, but competition breeds competition is what it is.
And what amazes me most about this team, not just their brilliant skating, as we look to the Style B step sequence, is how they balance so many of their academic studies as well. He's wanted to be a software engineer at a tech company in the future. She's excelling in her academics as well. They're allowed up to 2 stops of 5 seconds in the rhythm dance. That was one of them within the Style B step. And they're that 1 step between the first and the second twizzle in the sequential twizzles. And here, their Group C feature, the 3rd twizzle. They won't be able to repeat that in the free dance as of this year, some of the changes. This, the Paso Doble 1, whereby Brendan is skating the conventional man steps that have been around for decades. And this, that rotational lift that you enjoyed, Ted, the difficult entry, and here, change of pose and loads of ice coverage. That'll be adding to some of the positive features.
And a nice GOE score on that as well, so great quality on that as we see the ending.
As Olympic bronze medalist Ruslan Goncharev joins them. And I was reading on icedance.com an article about the team, and they'd said that they initially were a pairs team, and then they obviously switched to ice dance, and how much joy that brought their mom. And we met their parents yesterday, and I mean, you could definitely tell it was her mom. She looks like she could get on the ice and skate in the junior event, and you could just sense the family joy sharing this experience in Riga, Latvia. The family coming to celebrate all of the hard work and toil and effort and energy in that performance.
And it's so interesting. It's so interesting in the juniors because the parents want to, go with them.
Yeah.
And in one way, it's beautiful because the family gets to experience something that they work so hard together on.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you want the kids to become more independent as well.
Yeah.
So it's a very fine balance. And maybe you pick one trip that you come together, and the other trip they go on their own, right?
Yep.
Because skaters are only on the ice by themselves, even though they're supported by a whole village behind. But at the moment, they're by themselves. They have to think by themselves, right? So it's a difficult but joyous time. Let's take a look at the scores for the rhythm dance. For Caroline and Brendan, 61, good score, 61.06, and that will put them currently into 2nd place.
Ruslan's happy.
They're happy. That's great. Smiles all around. She grabs the go. No, you're supposed to sit down until they cut the camera. Go ahead, Mark.
And now to the Estonian team, Irina Belyazheva and Frederic Murillo, coached by Leah Rand and Katerina Brina, and they'll be using music from the Grease soundtrack. Arina Belyazheva and Frederic Murillo from Estonia, and this team only together for just a year and a half or so, and they haven't competed a lot, so they acknowledged that they've missed competition experience. And indeed, at the start of last season, their first season, Frederic broke his foot, so this is really their first proper season.
Yeah, and you can clearly see that, and it's good that they're out there, they're getting the experience, spending more time together, learning how to skate together, because it's one thing, it's individual skating skills, then it's the team skating skills, and they're still a little bit weak in that area, but this is going to help them along the way.
And it's interesting, Frederic was on the same bus from the hotel to the rink with me today, and I asked him how he was, and he just acknowledged, I'm really nervous, this is my first big event. And I was kind of spying on him behind him when I sat in the bus, and he was watching his videos of training, and he was obviously studying what they were doing, and you could just sense, you know, the desire and intensity for the team to represent themselves as well as possible. They did it, not sure if they, a few little mistakes throughout the sequential twizzles, but what makes me happy, having known of the nerves and known of the
challenges,
to see the smile when they came off the ice.
Yeah, when you mentioned spine, you mean like MI5 or MI6 type of thing?
I was like, what's he doing there?
Yeah, exactly. Watch the boards right here. Just touch the boards and got a little close there. There's a straight line lift, and that is in at a level 3. This is one of the features.
And hopefully now, this experience for which they were nervous, understandably in anticipation of now, as they make their Love Hearts Shaping Hearts campaign, they will take all of the learning opportunity from this.
And you can see in the expressions, it's frustrating because you want to be better and you want to do more because you've seen the other teams here, but you know you're not at that stage yet. You can see that, but that's a good type of frustration because it means they're going to be motivated when they get back on the ice to close that gap.
And you know, even for me, having seen Frederic, you know, watching the videos, you can tell he's trying to do all that his coaches have explained to him and do all that he can, but there's so much that the coaches will have said verbally that is now confirmed and compounded when they see it visually by the teams that we've seen that they're training with now here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can hear all the words that you want, but when you see it in the picture, you go, yeah, now I get it, yeah. Exactly. Is that what you meant?
Oh, you want us that fast?
Yeah, exactly.
And that, you know, it is the speed that we've spoken about throughout the broadcast and will continue to discuss, is it's hard to quantify the speed on videos that they may watch on YouTube as it is live.
The rhythm dance scores 28.90 for Arina and Frederic, and that will put them currently into 5th place. Not certainly what they want, but they need this type of experience in order to motivate them to close that gap, to do the extra work, improve the skating skills, and that's going to give them a good basis for moving forward. Okay, next warm-up, Mark. Keep talking. Fill the gap.
Well, again, in this group, we have another, you know, amazing stories and tales of different teams with very vastly different experiences. We have one team who are competing in this warm-up that will open the group who have been together for just 8 weeks. And then we have others like Sofia Daval, who's center screen right now, who's extremely experienced with their partner Victor. And 2 French teams back to back. This is a random draw for the first portion of the competition. That will be a seeded draw for the second part, the free dance. But randomly, 2 of the French teams pushed back to back in the starting order. So their coach Karine Haribert will have her eyes crossed as she's trying to watch both her teams.
Both, exactly, 4 people, right? Where are they?
And this is a blessing and a curse for me now, Ted, as I enter into my 3rd year joining you in the Junior Grand Prix, because now I'm seeing skaters that we have seen for 3 years. We've learned a little bit about their life and their story, and so I'm connecting with them, and so then I almost am starting to feel nervousness for them because I want them to do well. I want to see everybody skate their best.
Well, it's interesting having, this is my 11th year. I mean, the 1 year of COVID we still did shows or look backs at Junior Grand Prix. So I've seen a lot of skaters like Medvedeva, and you know, all the skaters over the years that, you know, Nathan Chen, you know, when they were juniors. And so as you watch them mature and grow into juniors, out of juniors, into seniors, into Olympic champions, it's pretty cool.
Cool.
You get attached to the journey. You get attached to all the skaters. And the skaters, even like Hannah Debees from Egypt, when they first come in, so you really get attached by doing this. One of the things I love about it, because you're seeing skaters grow and mature, and humans.
And if we talk about the actual development of their skating, what will quite often happen is that a skater establishes a style, and they've got the biomechanics of their movement, their neural pathways that make their style. And so you can often tell a skater they'll improve, but stylistically it's based on the foundation that they have at this level, because we're seeing the performances now are based upon probably nearly a decade's worth of skating already. We're seeing them, yes, they may be earlier in their international competitive experiences that could hopefully go on to transcend toward Olympic Games, but still, when we look at this French team on screen, they will have been skating for multiple years already to hone that kind of style. They will hold their body on their right outside three turn as this, or their left forward outside twizzle. That will have been cultivated over years, and so it's not often the case over the years that you see vast differences stylistically.
No, that's true.
Speed, power,
but you see the quality
sharpness.
of their style. You see the quality improve, and therefore sometimes that style might look like it shifted, but it didn't really shift. It just simply improved.
Yeah. And that, I suppose, is why the quality foundation sounds so such a throwaway, easy comment to make, but it's so integral to a skater's long-term success, is that they're given, educated, and delivered good quality fundamental basics, because that offers or negates the potential for their continuation in the competitive arena.
The amount of work that needs to be done on just the basics of skating, not the individual elements, but just skating so that you have the comfort and confidence to, just spin faster as we see this rotational lift. It's not even a question. You're not even thinking about balance because you have it. It's ingrained in you. And that takes thousands of hours. And particularly in ice dance, when the teams first come together, they might be able to skate it individually, but skating together is a whole new thing, right? So it just really takes time, and it's not making any excuse. It's the reality of this discipline, of all of our sport.
And I think, we can't underestimate, and perhaps I'm not sure exactly who's listening to the broadcast and how much of an education they have had in skating, but it's hard to quantify quite the importance of just each and every single push. So when we watch these, particularly in the ice dance discipline, the way in which they prepare each and every stroke and the amount of length of the push and the consequential glide, that's what's going to differentiate them all. And that's why Gabriela Papadakis and Guillaume Cizeron were so special, because their suppleness of their knees and their ankles and the length of their strokes facilitated the best skating skills.
The interesting thing for a viewer who has not skated, they'll see, wow, that team's really good. They won't know why. We will define that, whatever, but you won't know why. But if you watch those small details and how they glide and how they push and the unison, all those types of little details in dance are so critical, but also in pairs skating as well. And here we go. Back to work, Mark.
Here we go.
Think you're going to need another coffee today? I don't think so.
So starting the second group in the rhythm dance in Riga, and the first stop of the Junior Grand Prix, Hilda Taylor and Alexander Busholt. The team have been together just since June. Unbelievable that they have managed to prepare themselves sufficiently to compete in a Junior Grand Prix.
Now I have to ask you, did you mean June of last
I
year
know,
or
right?
June this
Yeah.
year? Because that is remarkable. Sure, there's lots of polishing to do. There's lots of things. But that is extraordinary to be that close together and to skate that much in unison for June to August.
Well, I was joking with him. I said, can you even remember the choreography because it's so fresh and so new? And it's really interesting because I remember last year Hilda competing. I think it was last year, perhaps the year before, and she was competing with the previous partner, and through no fault of his own, I remember thinking Hilda's struggling because she had a much better quality of skating than her partner was able to give, and so it was a challenge for her to kind of rein in her performance. Now, although this team's so new, as we look at their sequential twizzles, the quality is more matched in their skating skill, and we're able to tap into a little bit more of the performance ability that Hilda has, which was fun.
Yeah, and although each individual skater can improve those skills, they're matched.
Yeah, yes. And so, there's no doubt that the team will be I'm sure they're very conscious of the fact that there's so much yet for them still to do, but this partnership has potential.
It's a good partnership, and it's extraordinary the work they've done in such a short period of time.
And as we see the midline step sequence there, the back inside counter, only at level 1, so slightly the steps just not deemed cleanly done enough yet, but the fact that they did them.
Well, yeah, the fact it's not even the levels of difficulty, it's, how much did they skate in sync together, and that was what struck me.
Joined by their coach, Neil Brown. Neil has been so influential and pivotal in trying to promote the solo dance discipline, and that's increasing in its energy and motion, and solo ice dance becoming more and more a part of the international scene now.
Alexander looks a little tuckered out there. You can see him breathing pretty heavy.
And, as I mentioned with Hilda previously competing on the Junior Grand Prix, it is a challenge for many of the female ice dancers to form a partnership, and so any partnership opens up a list of opportunities to compete at the standard of this type of event, as we've mentioned. Now, how great that they have found each other. That said, it's not easy. Alexander, I know he was representing Great Britain. I know that he was training in the States for a while as well. These teams are formed from huge commitments from the families, and now I assume that they have now and Maurizio Margaglio, former world champion from Italy.
Quite the background stories to a lot of these athletes, which we never hear. 43.07 for Hilda and Alexander. That'll put them currently into 4th place. And sort of a nod of approval. That's okay. That's good. For this stage, for that much time, that is good. Well done. Hard work from June to August.
And from a team that have been together for just a few weeks, this team have been together despite their tender age of 13 and 15 for some years now. Sumire Yoshida and Ibuki Ogahara. And they will skate to You Can Do It and Born to Be Alive. Yoshida and Ogahara from Japan.
Well, I'm so impressed because I had to keep looking at the sheet to go 13 and 15. Is that right? Those numbers can't be right because they're so strong in their skating skills and maturity as well. And we talked to Kathy Reed a little earlier, and she had been teaching them, I think, since they started skating.
Yeah, since I think 5 and 7. I think
Yeah.
they teamed up in 2016.
Yeah, that was impressive.
And I think, you know, we've seen Kathy Reed make history in teaching a Japanese ice dance team to win their first medal at a Junior Grand Prix last season or the season before. This, a new team, and an example of a coach that wants to make a difference, that wants to help grow and develop a different discipline in their skating nation.
And Kathy meticulously spends the time to work through that time to get them at 13 and 15, a very respectable level. Really well done. We'll see what the scores are. I don't know, but
from a technical perspective as well, I think one of the earliest teams to get level 2 for both in the partnership on the midline step sequence. So deemed to have more clean turns. They had a difficult entry as their Group C feature into these sequential twizzles. And you can see in the slow-mo as we watch back, there's a conscientiousness to the choreography within the element as well. And actually, really mindful of that. The performance level was high.
Really, energy matched the music, that's for sure, as they enter in their midline steps.
And you were acknowledging as we look at this midline the level of energy and seeming attack in it, and Kathy did acknowledge that both of the skaters in this partnership still pursue some single skating, and that can be a great attribute. They can take from that discipline some of the attack that can serve them.
That was so well done. I mean, we didn't know what to expect. We haven't seen this team, and Kathy talked to us, well, they've had them since they were 5 or 6 and 7. Oh, they're going to be a young little team. Yes, they're young, but they don't skate young.
No, not at all. And hopefully, as 3-time Japanese novice champions, hopefully now this experience competing at Junior Grand Prix will fuel them and motivate them. Obviously, Kathy is an Olympian and a decorated ice dancer herself, knows what to expect, but as we've said before, there's nothing quite like the experience themselves for the athletes. So
well, look at the smiles on their face. They're loving what they just did, and they're loving this moment. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores. 50.65. Kathy goes, woo, that is good. And that'll put them currently into 3rd place. What a great start. And Kathy, is very happy and proud of her young students. Wow, great.
And now to 17-year-old Louise Bordet and 21-year-old Martin Chardin, both experienced with former partners, now teamed up together. Louise Bordet and Martin Chardin. Second time we've heard Black Betty. It's great music.
Yeah, it really is, and they did such a great job, particularly on the step sequence at the end of the program. Had the attitude, had the quality skating as well.
And just have to acknowledge it. I don't want it to sound like a broken record, but some teams just do, some coaching staff and some choreographers just have a greater appreciation for musical sensitivity and timing. And that was so very evident, as we expect.
You don't sound like a broken record, because that's the first time I've heard that from you.
This season, but I might be repeating it a few times this
season.
season.
I listened to you. That's probably it. Yeah, great job.
And a new team, I mentioned that they're both experienced with others, new to their partnership, but the qualities we spoke about during warm-up are their fundamental basic solo skating, very evident in the combination of two strong skaters individually. Is always going to be successful. I've seen, I think, both of these skaters performing their twizzles with their previous partners, and you can see united in the technique, and I think that's because they've had, although different partners, the same coaching staff with those other partnerships, so the technique is embedded and consistent. And here, this is actually the Paso 2, but on one of the first Pasos, no, sorry, the second Paso, the first key point was given a T mark by the technical panel. That's suggesting that the time taken on the steps for that key point were incorrect. And all of the teams were a little...
Lost the balance there, but yeah, hung on.
Yeah, and this is the final element in the program, and as we've mentioned yesterday, this is early in the season for many of the teams, and so the run-through mileage isn't quite as established, so I'm sure the legs are burning a little bit more than they will be later in the season. But each of these arm movements appropriate and timed. I think that is Emily Telemack, who is a singles and pairs coach, who's joining them in the kiss and cry, presumably because their main coach, Catherine Haribert, is now ringside with her back-to-back students. And nice to see then that the French coaches are supporting one another.
Yeah. Teamwork. 57.67 for Louise and Martin. That will put them currently into third place. I think the hug says it all. They're happy with that. Your top 5 on the leaderboard so far in the rhythm dance.
So from Bordet and Chardin to Bernard and Bonetto. And they will skate to the brilliant music of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. Eva Bernard, Amadeo Bonetto, and you can see just the sort of purse of his lips from Amadeo, indication that that wasn't, I imagine, a very comfortable skate. I imagine that there was just that feeling of tightness, and sometimes it's like you're chasing your tail.
On the twizzle also affected in the midline steps, a little loss of a balance here. So for him, he's analyzing his performance, and you can see that on his face at the end of the program. But unique outfit, unique approach to Sgt. Pepper's.
Yeah.
And of course, being British, you're going to be analytical.
Yeah.
Here's the opening moves.
And I mean, even here you can see I just so enjoy the creativity and the choreo from this school of ice dance. I think so many of these teams, as we look at the straight line lift, performing an ice theatre competition in France, and I think that's really enhanced their choreography, their musicality, and their performance. And you can see always the attention to detail of the arms, that a constantly moving arm movement, that is a level. There's the one step, I think.
Just hits the toe pick right there. Lost the balance.
So I think that will only be a level 1 for Amadeo.
It is.
And this, the Paso Doble sequence 1, here the key point, second key point for him. And this, the third key point. Relatively simple steps on the third key point for the teams to get the level, but the depth and clarity of the edge will be what the tech panel are reviewing. Again, here though, the nuances and touches within the choreography so brilliant, and
really great.
I suspect that this rhythm dance score, I think they could be like whatever they get now, I think that like next week it could be 10 points more. Almost this potential.
This is a very good vehicle, and really well choreographed and well performed here, despite the errors. But the errors cost them overall, not only technically but obviously within the program as well.
And I think that the little stumbles the judging panel have to acknowledge and take into account, those mistakes as a percentage of the whole, have to drop their skating skills. So even though they have great skating skills on today's performance.
You can see Karen, she was just going through sort of an animation of the loss of balance.
She seems, I mean, she's doing such a great job. Michelle seems quite...
We talk a lot about watching these skaters grow up. I've watched, not the coaches grow up, but I've seen the coaches for 10, 11 years as well. When they first came in, sort of all new. But, I mean, Karen's work simply always just continues to get better and explore something that's different. Classy, unique, innovative, and sometimes it may be a piece that's not your favorite, but you appreciate the effort to be different. 53.69 for Eva and Amadeo, and that'll put them currently in the 4th place. Good team, bit of a challenging skate.
Next to skate, representing Poland,
And now to Sofia Dava and Victor Kulesha. It was his birthday on Wednesday, hoping for celebrations in their Junior Grand Prix debut of the 2024 season. up on the YMCA for the rhythm dance for Sofia Deval and Victor Kulesha.
Well, Mark, I saw you dancing to that YMCA, as we listened to it and watched them finish their program with that. That's so much fun.
And, kudos to them for making sure that it was musical through each repeat of the phrasing of YMCA, but they didn't go cliched throughout the midline step B and just repeat the same arm movements that I did every time.
Yeah. No.
And really, really like this team and really impressed by the holds, particularly in both sequences of the Paso Doble. They appear to be the most intricate and difficult within the holds of those two elements compared to those that we have seen thus far, increasing the difficulty of it. Here you can see the holds within, behind the back, as they push through the key points as well. Still just maybe not as much speed as that which we saw from the likes of the Italians who lead the field, but good speed of rotation within the twizzles.
This was amazing because they actually did a stop before in reverse direction and got in those twizzles and covered a lot of ice despite not a lot of momentum going in.
Good run of the blade. Here the back Choctaw, and one of their stops allowed, as I mentioned earlier, up to 2 stops of 5 seconds or 1 long stop up to 10 seconds within the context of the program. And this amazingly difficult entry into the rotational lift, and I know Victor enjoys calisthenics, so he's used to being able to do incredible feats of body movement with his own body weight, so I'm sure able to exploit that when they come to think of the features for their lifts, both in this, the rhythm dance, and in the free dance to come.
Yeah, and this program will only get tighter. I think it's really good choreography. It was a little bit out of sync here and there, but it's early on in the season. You'll see that tighten up as the year goes on.
And as we've seen them in previous seasons, there's such a good connection and respect between the skaters and their coach, and they seem such a solid unit.
Exactly.
I enjoy that.
Let's take a look at the scores. 52.54 for Sofia and Victor. That'll put them currently into 5th place. But it's pretty close, at least between 4th and 5th. Now, do you know what's coming up? You were sent the email. The list is on your phone.
Well, yes. I wonder if there are going to be any changes.
No changes.
Because we're going to do that Shape Hearts campaign. We're going to filter that in somewhere as well.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I digress. I apologize, listeners. We are going to have a resource break, and we will have some entertainment in this with some wonderful videos. First of which, in this resurface, will be a day in the life from last season with the British ice dance team Atal Onge Perez and Ashley Slatter. And then a chance to look back at a video that we saw yesterday, for those of you who joined us yesterday, some history being made with Team Titanium, the synchro team, who were the first team from New Zealand to be representing at an ISU championship.
And don't forget, viewers, send us your questions, send us where you're watching from, give us content to work with the rest of the day. Take a look, enjoy, we'll be back.
We're doing the free dance first, so we don't know what we're doing. So, well, for a practice.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to do that.
So we're on our way to the ice rink for our first practice of the day. We are super excited, and we're going to sort of feel around, the atmosphere, and really get to know what we're dealing with.
We'll have to check the schedule to see if you make it back in time for lunch.
Yeah, I've got some like strawberries. Atal's got bananas and yogurt, so we can
That's fine.
mix it together.
Okay.
Ready to go in?
Yeah.
Let's go.
No, it hasn't been published yet. We'll have to wait.
Okay.
So, you're right.
Hi.
You met before.
No, not really. Briefly, maybe I might have seen you.
Little British team meet-up. You guys know them now, so you could arrange to meet up for dinner and whatnot.
Thank you.
Have a good practice. I actually have no idea where I'm going, so.
That's
That's the practice rink there.
That's the practice rink.
So
that's
that's
the
like,
main
yeah.
Yeah, the main rink.
Should we go and have a look?
Yes. Ooh. It's cold.
This is gonna be. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is.
I like it. I'm assuming it's going to be that side because there isn't anywhere to sit here, so I'm assuming it's all going to be over there.
Okay.
Oh, 7 a.m.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's okay.
Fine. Don't
It's
worry. Whee! You okay? You're right though. What did you hurt? Because I just know what you two are like for telling me when you're hurt. You don't tell me. So I'm going to keep bugging you, okay? Cheesy grin.
Posing like Evans for a photo.
Big smile.
So we've just done our cool down, and now we can catch up on what everyone else is doing, you know, give some support and cheer for them. A lot of stuff going on really, but exciting. I'm having some soup right now. You know, the air in the rink is a bit cold, so it's always good to have a hot drink, you know, to help, you know, cool yourself down and, you know, really get into the lungs.
I like chocolate and I like wafers. It's good. It's good.
So we were all, when I told the team, like kind of like crying and like really excited because the goal has always been Junior Worlds, but it always seemed quite a little bit unrealistic and out of our reach. So. Good timing, good timing. We feel really proud to represent New Zealand at Junior Worlds, as obviously we're the first junior team to come here before.
So getting New Zealand out there is what motivates me. So it's really cool that to be a part of this, to be a part of the journey with this team, because for us it's a New Zealand first, so it's really awesome to be a part of that journey.
We've always just competed against ourselves. There's no other junior team in New Zealand, and the first time we travelled was to Sydney for the Sydney Synchro Festival in September last year. So other than that, we've never really competed against other teams. So seeing other teams, they're a bit like gobsmacked watching them and having competition for once. It doesn't matter what any other team does, all we can focus on is what we can do.
I think we've got a mixture of excitement and nervousness as well, because it's so different to what they've experienced at home and so different to Australia. So many more teams, so many more people, and the rinks here are huge. I think they're hoping to have a good, clean skate and to improve on their mark from Sheffield, I think is what their main goal is.
I want them, and I really hope for them, that they can do the best that they have skated to date. We actually got personal bests a few weeks ago in Steel City Trophy for our short program, and I'm hoping that we can continue to make some more improvements and get a new personal best.
Just do the best that we possibly can. Have fun, make memories, show that, you know, it's possible that we can be here. And we deserve to be here.
Please welcome on the ice from New Zealand Team Titanium Junior.
Yeah, go, Rach, go, Rach, go! Go.
I know you probably don't all feel 100% happy, but I'm really proud of you. And remember, you've never skated in front of a crowd like this, have we? How many times have we even skated against other teams? Once. No, this is our third. This is the third, okay? Third time we've ever skated against other teams. We've got free skate tomorrow. Now that you've had an opportunity to skate in front of the crowd, we can be more relaxed going into tomorrow and more confident. Yeah. Okay? Well done. In 2022, we didn't qualify for New Zealand Nationals, so we didn't have any opportunity to go internationally because they won't let us travel if we haven't gained the correct TES in their what they've set. Despite that, we were able to do an exhibition skate at the National Championships and get some points for that, which was really hard for the team because that was their first year competing in junior, and we hadn't really done many competitions. They just treated it as if it was competing at national champs, and we worked harder. Next year, obviously, we got to nationals and now qualified for Junior Worlds, and here we are. We also only had 13 skaters at nationals, so since October we've gained 4 new skaters to meet the minimum requirements, and so yeah, I think they've shown a lot of resilience over the years.
It was a big moment for our team. Yeah, when we found out that we qualified to come to Junior Worlds, it was almost everyone was in tears, or it was just so emotional for all of us.
To see that Tracy's hard work and dedication has really paid off, we were really happy for her, and we were all crying because we were happy for Tracy.
Just never give up. If you want to achieve your goals, just keep persevering, work hard, keep pushing through. Nothing is unattainable, as we've learned, because we didn't think we'd be here, but here we are. The team's worked really hard. Just my message would be just keep pushing through. No matter how hard times feel, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be a better day ahead.
Welcome back, everyone, to Riga, Latvia. Group number 3 in the rhythm dance. Working on getting my voice back, Mark.
It's coming back. Whether or not it will stay.
It's a little bit better than yesterday, that's for sure. That's for sure. So let's talk a little bit about what we've seen so far. It is early in the season, and is this a fair comment? You know, it's perhaps a little harder to be at the top of your synchronization game, if you will, and the unison and whatnot for ice dance than it is for singles and pairs early on in the season, I mean.
Yes.
I mean, that's just maybe a radical statement, but...
No, I agree, and actually, based upon what we've seen in the first couple of groups, I've actually been quite conscious of the earliness in the season, because I think in ice dance competition, you could normally, as a generalization, predict the result based on the skating skills quality. So for me, as a generalization, I could watch each team independently do this paso doble, sequence 1 or sequence 2, and I would have felt like, okay, I'm going to be able, on the back of that, pretty much dictate the result, because it gives you such an indication. But with perhaps the 2 French teams and others, we've seen some little wobbles and little tightness from some of the teams, and that has, rightly so, impacted upon the result. So what you're saying about it being early in the season, that is playing into the ice dance competition more than I maybe normally would expect.
Yeah, that's my point, is that, we don't see it as much in singles. I mean, they're going to make a fall either, whether it's early or late in the season, doesn't matter, and that's what we dictate a good skate or a bad skate on. But in ice dance, perhaps it takes a little bit longer to sort of get into sync, if you will. Now, my other question was, hold on, I got to try to remember. That's always difficult to do. What are your thoughts so far, the first 2 groups, on the rhythms and the music?
Well, it's actually, I was thinking, obviously, coming into today, into work, and thinking about, for the first time of this season, discussing thoughts upon this theme choice. Ice dance warm-ups. And I will be very honest. I'm not proud of myself for it. But
as opposed to other times?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I'd be very honest in acknowledging that I wasn't necessarily proud of my thoughts, but I remember when I first heard 50s, 60s, and 70s, and in my head, and I heard other people kind of complaining, as some people do, and moaning, oh, 50s, that's so vague, it's so much, it's so wide, it's so spread out. And so my initial assumption was, I don't really get why it would be 50s, 60s, and 70s, because I thought that one solitary decade of the 80s was so successful last season. However, upon review of it, upon hearing more people who are living it and experiencing it, I actually now coming to appreciate it more and more, because I think it gives more scope. I think the 80s as a decade had such variation within it, so there was lots within that to work from.
But even that had barriers around it. I think that I like what they did, because they've expanded this, and there's so much dance was happening and developing as the music changed through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. In the 80s, yes, there was not bad for one decade, but I like this. I think this is great. But what do I know? I know nothing about this. No, I'm not a dance expert, but I'm just saying.
But it's, and that's what we want. I suppose ultimately any choice made by the Ice Dance Technical Committee is fueled hugely, I imagine and hope, by, well, what is the viewing audience? Not necessarily who are the diehards, but how are we going to keep and attract even more people?
That's a good point. I guess that's my point, is that I'm disregarding the technical stuff. I'm talking about the entertainment value and the range of history, really, in many ways. 50s, 60s, and 70s, a lot of stuff happened, and through the music, and so that gives a wider range for the athletes to work with, and a wider range for the audience to be entertained.
And what I do notice is that the International Skating Union, the communication for the ice dancers from which the coaches and the skaters work off, it gives examples of dance styles, so rock and roll, jitterbug, twist, and disco. And early on, before I'd seen anything, I thought, everybody's just going to do disco, and we've had that before, it's disco. But what I am really clinging on to and enjoying so far, and I suspect perhaps will be the case for the entire season, is not necessarily so much seeing evident dance styles in the choreography, but seeing one of the required characteristics of high energy. And I think
that's true.
Is something that's really, really very positive, and something that I'm really appreciative. I'm going to appreciate more, particularly because ice dance has fallen down a route previously of having very intense free dances and sometimes quite melancholy, dramatic, contemporary. At least in this rhythm dance, the skaters are going to enjoy high energy, and we, the viewers and the fans of the sport, will enjoy this high energy entertainment.
Okay, Mark, you're up.
Bada bing, bada boom. So we go to the first team in this final group, to 15-year-olds from Kyiv, Sofia Rakonova and Denis Fedyenkin. Another team competing in their first ever Junior Grand Prix experience. Sofia Rakonova and Denis Fedyenkin from Ukraine, a team who had been spotlighted on the Olympics channel Instagram ahead of their participation at the Winter Youth Olympics in Gangwon. And I think perhaps the choice of the Olympics channel to acknowledge their participation in that prestigious event highlights the fact that this is a team that, as we discussed with the participants from Ukraine in the singles disciplines, will be going through so much in their lives beyond just participation to compete in elite sport.
Well said, and you know, it's so difficult, and you can see the smile coming off the ice just to be out there and to have a sense of freedom to a certain degree to pursue something that they love to do. And there's lots of work here. They don't get the same amount of time and training, no question, but their love of the moment is equal to everybody.
Yeah. And I sensed for Sofia and Denis that, like every team, there was some nervousness, perhaps even the pattern you can see very close to the barrier there, and sometimes it seemed when they picked up on the Paso Doble sequence that they were out of phase with the music, and so perhaps rushing ahead of their normal timing. And that's so often the case, you know, in a competition. Skaters will very rarely be behind the music, much more likely to the adrenaline puts them ahead.
And we really don't know how much training they've had in the summertime. And this is, you know, this, well, it is still summer. It's August, right? So it's very early on.
And whilst they did get to compete in the Winter Youth Olympic Games, as I mentioned, in Gangwon earlier this year, this their first Junior Grand Prix. And that's another huge learning curve. And there, joyful smiles. Oh, that's
Isn't
from
that
Gang 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Shaping the Hearts. You can just do one together.
Oh,
there we go.
go.
You got the memo.
Okay, well, they need to work on just that. You know, yeah.
Lead and follow.
Yeah, I'll put the right arm down. Here we go. Rhythm dance scores 25.51 for Sophia and Dennison. That'll put them currently in the 11th position.
Next to stage representing the United States of America, Michelle Ryan.
And now to Michelle Deitch and Ryan Hugh, a team who won the Lake Placid event in the summer. That a really hotly contested event from some of the best junior teams in North America, indicating that this couple have a bright future. How will they fare in their first Junior Grand Prix assignment? Michelle Deich and Ryan Hugh, rapturous applause, presumably from the American team that are here, sharing the experience with them. And we've had the YMCA today, we've had Shake Your Booty now. How much fun that the teams can pick tunes that can be so expressive. But yeah, who would have known that you see Shake Your Booty in the competitive arena?
yeah, I know, exactly. This is like going down memory lane, you know, for me.
Yeah.
And for many people too, it's covered because the music didn't just live in that era. It has also progressed. Many young people like listening to this type of music as well. So. And
that actually is one of the things this year the teams can use remixed or remastered music,
right,
which they couldn't do last year. So being able to take the music from those 50s, 60s and 70s and give it even better edits as we see the opening. And it's an amazing story for this team with Michelle. She started skating age 3 as we look at their step sequence in the B style. She was taught originally by Tatiana Gladkova, her grandmother, who was the ice dance partner of Igor Spielband and won Junior Worlds together in 1983.
Really?
So,
Yeah, that's good.
and
Good
now
research.
Igor Spielband is their coach, and obviously Igor has taught so many world medalists, so they're in very good hands as we see the conclusion of some very successful twizzles. And they had success too with the Paso Doble on the first sequence of the Paso Doble, the first team that we have had to achieve level 4. So yeah, not so successful with the second sequence. And it's interesting to see with the teams, there seems to be actually not a uniformity in regards to the levels for one sequence over the other. Some of the teams much more comfortable with the Paso 1 and some Paso 2. Now, is that Natalia Anenko? I think their coach,
looks like her, yeah,
who was one of the most beautiful skaters on the planet. She's part of their coaching team.
Yeah.
And so getting the chance to have any visual demonstration by a coach of that quality has to pay huge dividends to Michelle and Ryan.
The neat thing that when these skaters come off the ice, forget about the scores and all the play. They look like they're having fun in that type style of music, you know, as opposed to like a tango or you know,
very
a
good
waltz
point.
or whatever. You can just see the difference in their energy, not on the ice, in the kiss cry.
Yeah, and that, you know, it's making ice dance have a bit. Sometimes ice dance could be quite intense, and sometimes ice dance could be really.
Whoa.
Well, it's always intense.
Sometimes
it's intense now with jollity and the rhythm dance, at least.
Exactly,
it could be, like you say, if the chosen rhythm, as it has been many previous seasons, was a tango, then everybody would be channeling, and rightly so, in practice and in competition, a very fiery and intense and dark vibe.
But they look like they're having more fun doing this type of dance. Now, mind you, can't do that forever, but still, it's a lot of fun for the fans and for them.
Yes, and it paves into the way of channeling different types of expression, as we'll see in the free dance tomorrow.
Exactly. Let's take a look at 56.17, and they are to some degree shocked, and they are thrilled with that score. Look, they're going, I can't believe it. And they're in 4th place at the moment. That's a great performance. Unexpected for them.
And actually, I
but
think
a good indication of where they're at.
Yeah, I think about 6 points higher than what they had in Lake Placid. As we move now to the first of the 2 Canadian ice dance teams. We had French ice dance teams competing back-to-back. Canadian ice dance teams now. This, Aurea 50 debut and Earl Jesse Celestino. Aurea 50 debut and Earl Jesse Celestino, a team that have been skating together for 8 years now. And coming into, I'm sure, the best form of their careers thus far. And great to hear that this rhythm dance was choreographed for them by Laurence Fournier-Baudry and Sam Chouinard. And we've spoken over the past few seasons about the amazing quality coming from the Ice Academy in Montreal, and great to see that they're using some of the current competitive skaters to step into the world of choreography. And I'm sure that has been incredibly inspiring for Aurea and Earl to see the likes of Laurence demonstrating and creating this piece for them this season. And we've spoken about the expressive capabilities of the ice dancers. That's so very evident at the start of the rhythm dance for Aurea and Earl. And here, right outside rocker, pushing the quality of the turn. And actually this team achieving a level 3 for both of them in the midline step there, the back inside counter. Yeah. Making sure that the depth of edge is clear, evident and obvious for the technical panel. Constantly moving arms and the leg feature to push the level within the twizzles. And right back inside with the arms above the head. I'll keep mentioning that the twizzles, the Group C feature, we used to see everybody doing a third twizzle, it seemed. Now, if you choose to do that in the rhythm dance, you cannot repeat that feature in the free dance. So we're going to see some more variations, hopefully to make more interesting visual statements in the ice dance community. And you can see covering almost a half of the rink within the rotational lift, which is the reason why that has had an extra point added to the level based on the grade of execution.
Well, they certainly look pretty happy with that performance, and their personal best is 45.37. You're going to see that score beaten by quite a bit, I think.
And we spoke about the French team having to share the kiss and cry with a different coach. Benjamin Brisebois, their coach with them here, is rinkside now with the next students. But the Canadians so supported, team leaders, and
there it is, a 55.79 nod of approval by Earl Jesse, and high five. Need some work on that, but that'll put them currently in the 5th place. Great job, good start.
That's one of the best things that I've seen. The support given from one Canadian ice dance team to another. Sandrine Gauthier and Quentin Thierrin, a rhythm dance choreographed by Marie-France Debreu, and a team that won the Quebec Summer Championships. Sandrine Gauthier and Quentin Thierrin. And we were just acknowledging, obviously, there were mistakes within this rhythm dance for the team, but it's important to acknowledge that they suffered a concussion at the end of June, which prevented them competing at the Next Gen camp. And they're following the concussion protocol and being eased back into training, so they haven't had the 100% intensity that they would have liked, and they only started to do run-throughs a couple of weeks ago, which, knowing that, perhaps paves the way for understanding why one of the later elements was more of a struggle for this team. But outside of that, I actually thought the program was really good, and I think the team has improved. Just mistakes are mistakes, and in the ice dance competition,
No, the mistakes, it's fine. You know, that element, the twizzle, which is usually closer to the beginning of the program, is a little bit later, but they haven't had the time to train it.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. This is a strong team that had not as much time to prepare in an era. It's okay.
And they definitely, they are a strong team. They're one of the teams that are exploiting some of the age change restrictions or opened up age limits this season. Now, both the man and woman can be up to 21 years of age in the junior competition. That was so cool. Just the use of the heel, and it's one of the things that I admire so much about I Am and Marie-France Debreu, the choreographer here. When they choreograph for so many different teams, to still be able to find some nuances and originalities, like the opening of this program, I thought, oh, I've not seen that before, but you can just see the collision.
Yeah, they just drifted toward each other.
And that, arguably could be because they just haven't had the mileage.
Yeah.
And then add into that a little bit of extra adrenaline and nervousness under the performance of competition. The mistakes somewhat inevitable to some extent, but despite the mistakes, you can see this team has massive quality. Just will they be able to stay in contention to return to the podium, which they did here 2 years ago?
It's one of the good things about the Junior Grand Prix. The fact is, it is early in the season, so it's, even though you might be going for the final and whatever the case may be, you need to get out and compete, because that just gets you into the competitive mode. You can train all you want, you need to learn to compete. So you got to get out. Maybe it's a little ahead of time here for this team because they're just recovering from that concussion, but that's okay. They're here, gaining the experience, getting the mileage.
And actually, to me, remembering them here 2 years ago, to make that direct comparison with my memories of 2 years ago, they have improved significantly, and that's what we talked about when we were talking about like the basic stroking or the fundamental skating skill. Like, they're fundamentally better skaters. I
just admire the fact that you have a memory of 2 years ago. That's pretty awesome. 56.59 for Sandrine and Quentin, and that'll put them currently in the 4th place. They're within range for sure, and they'll have a better skate in the free program.
And now to the most experienced team in this event. A couple that probably odds-on favourites, having won the bronze medal at the World Junior Championships earlier this year. Daria Grimm and Mikhail Savitsky. Oh, having to work hard to fight through some challenges coming out of the rotational lift just at the end. Ski.
But they're real pros. They know how to handle little glitches like that. They just kept it going and kept the body core strong.
And you know, talking about their professionalism and their experience, the team have had a tough off-season with sickness, but Daria explained that throughout all of the challenges they stick together, and that's so admirable, and that's something that's an absolute necessity when we consider what's happening on the senior ranks. We're seeing the world medalists at Senior World Championship who've all been together a decade or so, and this team have already amassed.
And it was kind of interesting, we talked about this a little bit, about a bit of a surprise that they're back on the junior.
Yeah, and I mean, Mikhail has an amazing birthday. He's 21 after the cutoff of 1st of July. His birthday is 1st of July. But, you know, there's only one spot for German ice dancers at European Championships, so that perhaps some of the rationale behind them staying in junior when they're age eligible to potentially, I'm sure, push to try and take their world junior title. They've been in contention for that for the last 2 seasons, 3rd place last year, so obviously that will be a fixation. Here you can see the pattern of the Paso Doble, not as big as they will be pushing for as the season progresses. They'll be aiming to cover more ice with that, but moments like that showcase some originality of movement, and there was some great exploitation of the outside spread eagle, which you perfectly captured there.
Yes, thank you. You're welcome. At least I did something right.
And Daria and Mikhail have a personal best in the free dance, at least from this event 2 years ago. They were the winners, and Sandrine Gauthier and Quentin Tierra, the last couple to skate, were second at that event. So we're going to see some repeat positioning as they're joined by Neil Brown, who's supporting them here, shaping hearts and sharing.
Well, good to get the first one under the belt. First international competition of this season. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance score, 61.97. They seem to be a little bit disappointed with that score slightly, but that's okay. It's early on. It's still very tight. And you'll see right here, 62.95 to 61.97. 61.06. It's really close.
Yeah. Paving the way for an exciting and hotly contested free dance.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the final standings. There it is.
Gosh, they started.
Yeah.
The first team to skate led the field from start to finish.
Wow, amazing. Your comments, Mark?
Yeah, and a good example of the uplifting high energy that the Ice Dance Technical Committee wanted for this season, and excited to see we might get a whole load more contemporary intensity in the free dance tomorrow. We'll see.
I'm most certain we will. That concludes our coverage of the rhythm dance. Up next will be the Pairs Free program, the first medal event here in Riga. Day number 2, week number 1 on the ISU Junior Grand Prix. We'll be back with the Pairs Free. Stay with us.